Think of the American industrial boom of the 19th century, and a very specific image comes to mind. It's a story of solitary men retreating to their workshops, tinkering with gears and pulleys, and emerging with machines that would build a modern economy. History books reliably offer the same handful of names, men like Eli Whitney and Robert McCormick. They secured the patents, built the empires, and accumulated immense generational wealth. Yet, this textbook narrative sits right on top of a massive historical contradiction. At the exact moment this industrial economy was exploding, millions of Black people were subjected to a legal framework that officially classified them as property, legally presumed to be incapable of complex, independent thought. The reality on the ground told a different story. The nation relied heavily on the mechanical intellect of enslaved people to solve some of its most difficult engineering problems. Behind the famous patents and the industrial wealth lies a hidden record. We can trace the specific contributions of at least 7 Black minds whose foundational genius was systematically erased from the official ledgers. Understanding this history requires looking past the individual names to expose the specific legal mechanisms the United States used to launder intellectual property on a massive scale. The clearest method of this erasure was absolute legal denial, enforced right at the steps of the United States Patent Office. Consider Benjamin Montgomery. In 1819, he was enslaved on a plantation in Virginia, where he taught himself mechanics in whatever spare time he could scrape together. Montgomery observed the shallow waters of the local rivers and designed a highly specialized steamboat propeller explicitly built to navigate them. He sought to patent his design, but the federal ruling was swift. Because Montgomery was enslaved, he was legally classified as property, and property was disqualified from holding a patent. The law was incredibly rigid. Even when powerful white enslavers attempted to claim patents on behalf of enslaved inventors, they were blocked. The brother of Jefferson Davis tried to patent Montgomery's propeller, but the government refused. We see the exact same ruling later in Mississippi. An enslaved man named Ned invented a highly efficient double plow and scraper that allowed a single worker to process 2 rows of cotton simultaneously. Again, Ned's enslaver attempted to claim the invention, and again, the system rejected it. The courts actively refused to legitimize Black intellect in any capacity, regardless of who stood to benefit. By creating this legal void, the government ensured these mechanical efficiencies entered the public domain immediately. White-owned industries absorbed the designs and profited from them entirely for free. When absolute denial threatened to bury an idea completely, some Black inventors found a second, desperate route: the forced proxy. Born into slavery in Kentucky in 1802, Henry Boyd developed a highly durable, ironless bedstead that heavily influenced modern furniture design. Knowing the law would instantly strip him of ownership, Boyd surrendered his name. He partnered with a white man, George Porter, using Porter's legal status just to get the invention manufactured and sold. Others faced even starker choices. In 1830, a 16-year-old enslaved boy in Maryland named Benjamin Boardley successfully engineered and built a working steam engine. Boardley knew he would never secure a patent. Instead, he sold his steam engine entirely, trading his intellectual capital to purchase his physical freedom. These forced proxies and buyouts functioned perfectly as a systemic tool. They extracted the technological value of Black minds for the broader economy, while legally guaranteeing those minds received zero historical credit. The third mechanism is the appropriated idea. This is where foundational Black engineering was directly absorbed into the official mythology of famous white inventors. This technical illustration shows the horse-drawn mechanical reaper. Robert McCormick relied directly on the labor and insight of an enslaved man named Joe Anderson. They collaborated heavily on the complex gears and cutting mechanisms. Yet the patent and resulting empire went exclusively to McCormick. We see the same pattern with the processing of cotton. Long before Eli Whitney arrived, 2 enslaved men, Sam and his father, developed the core conceptual principle of mechanized cotton separation. Whitney eventually mechanized their idea, secured the patent, and made millions. The resulting cotton boom exploded the Southern economy, while Sam and his father were relegated to footnotes. The archetype of the lone white genius didn't happen by accident. It was actively constructed by a system designed to maintain racial hierarchy by scrubbing foundational Black creators from the historical record. The scale of this wealth transfer is immense. Navigable rivers, harvested breadbaskets, and a booming cotton empire were all propelled by uncredited Black intellect, quietly funneling massive value into the national wealth. Yet for all its legal power, the system failed in one crucial aspect. It could forge the ledgers and steal the wealth, but it could not destroy the human capacity to innovate. Recovering the names of Benjamin Montgomery, Ned, Henry Boyd, Benjamin Boardley, Joe Anderson, Sam, and his father is a necessary act of historical reclamation. American industry was built by the bound bodies of Black Americans and driven forward by their brilliantly unbound minds.